Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we have an ID video on a summer blooming Phalaenopsis, and this is the first one that blooms, pretty much opens the season. So here we have a species. This is the Phalaenopsis cornu-cervi variety chattaladae. Not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It might be chattaladae. I really don't know, so please excuse my pronunciation if it's wrong. So, as we can see, it is a very petite flower, but oh my, how pretty it is. So first of all, my orchid is not in the best of shape. I was really not treating my summer blooming Phalaenopsis orchids very well. In my older setup, it would appear that the combination of clay pot and clay medium is really not ideal in my climate. It stays too dry for the liking of summer blooming Phalaenopsis. Now, if you want to know more about my experience with these types of orchids, check the description down below. I did draw some conclusions, and the switch to the new setup was actually super beneficial. And this one is no exception. As you can see, in the past we had pretty tiny leaves, but now they're starting to get bigger and bigger once again. So that's a little explanation for the display. Now, as you might suspect, if you know a thing or two about summer blooming Phalaenopsis or the species, they are sequential bloomers, which means flower spikes can last for years on a Phalaenopsis of this type. And each year it will continue to bloom from the top, or it can actually create branches as well that will continue to bloom. This is the case with mine. This is the primary spike, and this just happens to be a branch, which, as you can see, is really tiny. And from that branch we have a little flower. So about the flower, it is the most gorgeous thing ever, really. It's so tiny and so sweet, but it has such a waxy and glossy texture to it. I hope you can see it appears to be wet, oiled up, but it's obviously not. I also appreciate the flatness of the flower. Can you see this? I really love flat flowers because it makes the display so much easier to see, makes it look a little bigger, although as you can see, this is a really tiny flower. So even if my display is not the best, you can imagine that in time, with good care, this orchid can produce multiple branching flower spikes, all filled with tiny little flowers of the sorts. And that should be a spectacular show. Now, sadly, this orchid does not have a fragrance, at least mine, nothing that I can detect after 5 days since it has been in bloom. Now, I'll share with you in the description the link to orchid species, so you learn more about the species, where it comes from, and so on, and you'll see there this orchid is described as fragrant. At this point, I'm not entirely sure if the fragrance is something related to the proper cornu-cervi. This is a variety which looks different than this. It has marooned spots on a sort of green canvas. As you can see, mine is not spotted, it is a solid color. And this is the trait of the chattaladae variety. So there is a chance that the proper cornu-cervi has a fragrance and this one doesn't. I also found this orchid available on Orchid Web. It is not described as fragrant. So best thing to do is to not expect fragrance from this orchid. In case your particular one has a fragrance, you know, the surprise will be bigger. Now, being that this is a summer bloomer, it does bloom pretty much in the summertime or late spring, depends on the climate. And to bloom these, well, it's kind of the opposite of the complex hybrids. The longer the days, the warmer the temperatures, the more prone these orchids are to blooming. Now, in the winter time, my orchid didn't do much. All of the summer bloomers, they don't bloom, they don't grow leaves, they do, however, grow roots very slow. However, everything changes when the warm temperatures come. So right now this orchid is in full active growth. She is growing roots and leaves, and also she blooms. So if you will, the summer blooming species in a climate which does have a distinct winter will kind of take a break. This doesn't mean that you should not water your orchid at all, obviously, but fertilizer can be reduced, watering frequency can be reduced as well. Just keep in mind, it is not a true dormancy, and this orchid can behave totally different in a more warmer climate. Personally, I love tiny flowers, and this contrast with the white lip and the very burgundy and dark background is just very attractive for me. So I do plan on getting more summer blooming species. This is one of the more popular ones, if you will, but of course if you're not into very tiny flowers, not entirely sure if this will be to your liking. I'm telling you, it's just super tiny, but it does stand out because of the color. So if you like this orchid, do search for it in orchid nurseries. Probably you will not find it in garden centers or flower shops. It's more of a collector's type of orchid, but it's not rare. And also, it should not be very expensive. As I was saying, it's very, very popular. And also Google the normal variety so you see how the flower looks like. Maybe you like that one better. So alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this little orchid. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchids and plants videos. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye! Here's a little update on my very dehydrated orchids that I received from Ana Maria. They were really not in the best of shape. They had spider mites. It was pretty awful. So the Ionosidium, yes, thank you guys for helping me identify this guy. He's not doing much yet, Sally, but he's not dead. However, the Pupuchea, she has started new growth, which you can see there. So this makes me so happy. A long time ago, I had this orchid. The smell is fantastic. I really love this orchid. And on a pendant display, it's absolutely gorgeous. However, my older ones had viruses, all of them. So right now, I'm doing my best to keep this orchid alive, so fingers crossed.